Learners, we are with Samit Garg, the Chief Executive Officer of E-Factor Entertainment Private Limited, India's most reputed company when it comes to wedding management industry. His company is famous for larger than life events with a lot of innovation and creativity involved in destination weddings with exotic decors and outdoor venues. This company also has an edge over other event companies in India and across the globe because of a dramatic mix of art and entertainment involved with live performances by celebrities and other artists as well. Any learner who would like to enter the event industry would look up to you as a role model. Could you tell our learners a little about the journey undertaken by you?
At the onset, let me thank IGNOU for having kind of selected my name in your list, and I hope that we are constructively able to contribute to whatever curriculum you are trying to build for the students. Now, when you talk of the journey, I think it's a very, very long story. It's 16 years, 1998 when I shifted to Delhi and got into this business. So you could actually write a book on the last 15-16 years in terms of how it started and where we've come about till date. In a nutshell, I would say that we're extremely grateful to God for opportunities that He just kept on giving to us, and by the good wishes of the elders, my father guiding me through, we were able to carve a way for ourselves in the roadmap forward, and about 7-8 years ago were distinctly able to establish a niche on the private social events domain that we actively work upon. So as a story, the 2 or 3 things that are relevant or benchmarks that kind of kept us moving up the ladder, it would be relevant to kind of share with you a few benchmark moments which established certain learnings and helped us move up the ladder rung by rung. The first big opportunity that came about was the Channel V Awards that happened at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium, a project that we worked for with the Channel V team and Viscraft. That was my first exposure to a larger than life public event happening in a stadium, and which gave us a lot of learnings. So अब इत्तेफाक की बात है कि जो पहला एक्सपोजर था वो हुआ ही इतना बड़ा कि that became a habit. So everything that we henceforth thought of doing was always larger than life. Then we managed the first international distributors festival for a multi-level marketing company called Japan Life, a record event in its own manner, 148,000 people on ground at the Jawaharlal Nehru Stadium. Logistics went to the extent of us having chartered 38 trains to get more than 600 people, more than 6,000 people into Delhi and from different parts of the country. So these were, between 1998 and 1999, 2 benchmark moments that established our entity in the events business here in the NCR region. And then since then there's really been no looking back. A few years down the line, 2000-2001, we got an opportunity to manage the first wedding event as a turnkey project, which was Mr. Peter Punj and Sonali Nanda. And between ourselves and the core team, we thought, okay, let's make this very, very different and very unique. Because one thing was clear, that there were 2 or 3 players in the events business who were there for time spans more than us. हम जब घुसे थे तो वो 8-10 साल से already थे. So when you talk of a DNA, when you talk of a Viscraft, there were companies that were already there. And it was very clear कि हम number 1 नहीं बन सकते अगर हम सब कुछ करेंगे तो, because वो हमसे 10 साल आगे थे. So we thought that while the market is expanding, let us establish a niche for ourselves and make sure that we become number 1 in the kind of events that we do. So after having done Peter Punj and Sonali Nanda's wedding, we realized that this is a market which is going to expand leaps and bounds, and let's try and promise ourselves that we lead this space. And God has been kind. It worked like that. Into 2007-2008, it was kind of established that we are leading this space, and we worked hard to maintain that position. So in the roadmap, as I said, benchmarks, the first wedding event was Peter and Sonali. Then 2004, 2005, we got the opportunity to manage Preeti Paul's wedding at Udaipur, which was huge amount of learning for us. Then Lokhandwala, then Abhishek and Aishwarya, then the GVK, the Lohiyas, Sahara happened. So each of those projects, as we moved along, kept on bettering us. And then in the last few years, the kind of projects and events that we've handled have again transformed the way social events have happened in this country.
Could you tell our learners about the wedding events industry and its future prospect? Our learners would like to know as to what are the different categories of events you handle?
Essentially, I think our business is divided into three kinds of events that we do. 65% of our business is private social events, where we do events for the high net worth individuals of India. Could be anything that they, but then typically when I say this, so they are events that are hosted by people who run incorporated India, and they are our clients, and we are happy to engage with them. There is a lot of learning that every interaction with every client gets to the table, even individually and collectively, us as an enterprise. The balance 35% of it is divided into two parts. There are 5 or 6 corporate clients who we do events for on a regular basis. Max Group of Companies, Department of Tourism, Royal Bank of Scotland are a few. And उसके अलावा हम साल में 1-2 special events करते हैं, which is either producing something for a television channel or organizing a festival for a PSU or a government sector department, etc. So typically these are the 3 different kinds of events that we as E-Factor engage with.
So how do you start selecting site for the event?
There's a certain philosophy that we as an enterprise follow. We have promised ourselves that we will not end up doing what everyone else does. So there are a few ground rules that we have established. Every event that we will do has to be driven by the word experience. So anyone who walks into our event, it is mandatory that that person goes back with a nice experience. When people ask me, what is it that you do for a living? I very proudly tell them that I'm in the business of making people happy. So a happy experience effectively is what we try and sell, not only to our clients, but to the guests that our client is inviting in any form of an event. So an experience for us comes from certain basic things in life, and those basic things are the 5 senses that every human being engages with. So what you see, what you smell, what you get to eat, the kind of entertainment that you are engaging with, the hospitality, food and beverage, all of these things collectively create that experience. So the touch and feel of the 5 senses that all of us are aware of is what becomes the focal point when we design or start creating a story around an event. So when you walk into a venue, the selection of the venue actually depends on what is the event experience that we want to create for that particular kind of an event.
Samit, how significant is a venue for the event? Like you said, it's largely dependent on the type of the event, but does it also have to do with event requirements, the budgetary and safety considerations?
Most importantly, for us, the selection of venue will depend on the experience that we are wanting to create for that kind of an event. So citing an example, if we have to do a fantastic, never done before kind of an engagement ceremony, तो हमारी सोच के हिसाब से हम engagement को कभी traditional तरीके से नहीं करेंगे, because engagement as a word in itself comes from the western part of the world, and engagements cannot be done in a very traditional manner, because the whole philosophy, the experience that drives that word is very international. So आप मेरे को बोलो कि मैं एक टेम्पल कॉम्प्लेक्स में जाकर एंगेजमेंट इवेंट को ऑर्गेनाइज करूं, शायद मैं मना करूंगा. For that I would need a venue which is either extremely floral, which has an international appeal to itself, and the stylization of that event would then trail or take forward from the kind of venue we've selected. So you tell me, the Imperial Gardens in Delhi, for example, could be a venue that we would select.
Right.
I am very happy to go to the Lodi Garden or the Lodi restaurant to design an experiential engagement event. So those are the kinds of places. I would never want to do an engagement event inside the 4 walls of a ballroom. You take me to a nice golf course to do a winter brunch or a champagne lunch for an engagement event. So those are the kind of venues we would end up selecting for an engagement event. So that's how we would select a venue. An Indian wedding, for example, is an event which we would always say that should be mounted in a traditional manner, because there are nuances, there are traditions, there are religious connotations that get attributed to it. तो आप एक शादी के इवेंट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से मेरे को बोलोगे समेत एक टेम्पल कॉम्प्लेक्स में चलेगा क्या? बिल्कुल चलेगा. और इफ नॉट दैट, you give me any place which is absolutely pious in its character, and we'll then add the elements of tradition and the elements of beauty to go along with it to create a wedding venue for that kind of an event. So which is why venue will become very selective. You want to do a youngsters, or you want to do a party which is a hardcore party and people want to party till the wee hours of the morning, I would either want to take you to a nightclub, or you give me a ballroom which is 4 walls so that I can do anything that I want to with that, or you take me to a venue which is a venue that people have never been to before. Take me to the 100th floor and give me a rooftop of any building. I'm happy to do something like that there. Give me a helipad, give me a runway of a discarded old airport. I'm happier to design an event like this in those realms.
Samit, there's an adage which says that event decor is an art form that literally sets the stage for experience. So we know that decor as an art form is a part of design and is a primary source of establishing a theme environment, at the same time enhancing the event atmosphere. So do you agree that decor can transform a venue into an exciting environment that enables interaction, learning, expresses emotions and communicates important messages?
Absolutely. I would say that decor constitutes about 60% of the marks to a successful or a non-successful event, but this is subjective. Subjective to the venue that you select for that event. Now, for example, we want to do a Sangeet event in an opera house. Unfortunately, India doesn't have opera houses, but if you go to an opera house somewhere in Europe, you really don't need any decoration there, because the opera house itself is so ornate, is so plush, is so fit to house something like that. Absolutely opulent. The only small element of femininity that you may want to add in an opera house are some small candles and floral scapes on tables, coffee tables and balconies that you have existing there. So the decoration there becomes subjective, because the venue itself is so decorated as a part of architecture that comes along with it. We want to take a nice a cocktail dinner to a fort. So Jaigarh Fort in Jaipur, for example, or you want to take something like this to Udaipur, place like Manik Chowk or the Jag Mandir. So a cocktail dinner event in these venues again requires very minimalistic decor. What you are enhancing is the experience of the venue itself by accentuating lighting, by adding some nice soundscapes and small embellishments. So their decoration will be very, very, very minimalistic. But on the contrary, if you take me for a Sangeet event into the middle of a desert, so while I have the canvas in a 360-degree environment, which is a huge desert, but I would for sure have to create everything there decoratively to enhance experiences for people. We were doing a project for GVK, Mr. Sanjay and Mrs. Pinky Reddy's daughter's wedding in Hyderabad. They gave me an 8 or 10 acre land piece outside the airport. So we had to virtually create a small township there for that particular project. So everything that we did there was decorative, because there was nothing that existed in the 4 walls. So वो subjective हो जाता है. We created a glass house once in Bombay for Mr. Lokhandwala's daughter's wedding. So there the decoration was the architecture of the glass house, and what we added was just some lamps and floral work, because the landscaping of his garden in itself was so beautiful. We made sure that within the glass house the entire garden and the landscapes were incorporated. There were trees in his bungalow. My father designed structures where he made sure that the trees were incorporated in the glass house. So they were all challenges, but the architecture in itself ensured that it becomes decorative. there are a lot of times that the clients do have something in mind. Like when we go for our briefing meetings, we always first engage with the family stroke client and ask them, are there any dream statements that you already have? Because more often than not, people do have some dream statements, and if the dream statements are correct, are practical and make sense, the first thing that we try and do is enhance and carry forward those same dream statements. Themes as a word is something that we've gotten away from in the last 7-8 years. We don't believe in the word theme anymore. We believe in the terminology of creating event experiences. So an experience that you want to create will determine the look and feel of that particular venue and that particular event, and the look and feel then will dictate what is it that you are creating. So themes, not really. We did something for a very old client of ours, a family based out of Delhi. We designed an event that was called Winter Wonderland, because the brief and the statement that the family wanted to make was something never done before ever. So we actually imported technologies from different parts of the world and we created snowfall. Have you ever heard of it in Delhi? So the whole decoration of that event was actually a wonderland that was created with snow having fell all around you. So I wouldn't say that we decorated that event with snow. We created an event experience which had chateaus, which had igloos, which had everything that was made the way structures and architecture is implemented in the Scandinavian region, a place called Lapland that we inspired everything from, and that's how the event experience was created. So अगर आप उसका वीडियो देखोगे या फोटोग्राफ देखोगे तो उसमें डेकोरेटिव कुछ नहीं लगेगा, but yet when you walk into that space you get a sense that you've actually walked into a different world altogether.
What is the reason behind the success of these destination weddings, and how have you taken these destination weddings global?
That's a tricky one. So number one, I think destination weddings originated for two reasons. So all big families based out of big cities in our country, they have huge amount of social obligations and social protocols to comply with. तो अब एक दिल्ली बम्बई में कोई एक बड़ा बिजनेसमैन अगर शादी के फंक्शंस होस्ट करता है, अब 2-3 हज़ार 4 हज़ार लोगों को आप बुलाकर आप खुद फंक्शंस तो एंजॉय नहीं कर सकते, आप सिर्फ दुनियादारी निभाओगे. सो दैट इज़ एक्चुअली व्हाट लेड टू पीपल थिंकिंग कि ऐसा क्यों ना करें, दैट 300-400-500 important friends and family members, let's take them somewhere so that we can at least all enjoy as friends and family the celebrations that happen across those 5 or 6 different functions that are organized. Right. So that's how destination weddings actually came into being. Okay. And it started with Thailand because that was by far the closest and the most cost effective proposition. So कहानियाँ वहाँ से शुरू हुई. इत्तेफाक की बात है हमने भी उस कहानी में बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट रोल अदा किया. And but now Thailand has the Phukets, the Bangkoks, the Chiang Mai's, the Hua Hins, people started going there. अब eventually अगर आप हिंदुस्तान का सोशल सर्कल एक मैप में डालोगे तो 60% गेस्ट लिस्ट या 50% गेस्ट लिस्ट हर कम्युनिटी में सेम होती है, और in a city or a destination in Thailand that you've already been to. So ट्रेंडिंग स्टार्टेड हैपेंड. थाईलैंड के बाद लोगों ने काठमांडू जाना शुरू कर दिया. काठमांडू की हालत ख़राब हो गई, सो काठमांडू डिक्शनरी से क्रॉस हो गया. देन पीपल स्टार्टेड लुकिंग एट अदर ऑप्शंस, सो पीपल स्टार्टेड गोइंग टू साउथ ईस्ट एशिया फर्दर मोर, सो दे स्टार्टेड गोइंग टू बाली. Then some people selected Malaysia. So the horizon has been expanding only because people now want to get away from the repetitive value. So then the northwest frontier came into being. So the closest possible bet was Turkey. We have been instrumental in developing Turkey as a wedding destination. So there are 3 places. So Istanbul, which is top of the line, it's very expensive. Antalya, the southern part of Turkey, and then Bodrum, southwest. So these are 3 destinations in Turkey that are coming up. People who want to engage with the European culture and architecture and hospitality went furthermore. So Italy, Spain, France. So world is now becoming a market as far as Indian weddings are concerned. In due course of time you will see Bucharest in Romania open up, because in Eastern Europe that place has some amazing venues to offer. And again, people in Romania are very, very hospitable. You will see Prague unfolding in due course of time, again because of the culture, the history and the kind of venues that that city has to offer. While Italy is there, and you've in the last few years seen 2-3 big weddings happen there. Florence has emerged, Venice has emerged. So these are all places of tomorrow when you talk of wedding destinations.
Samit, do you use some decor elements which are instrumental in defining the theme and style of events, like the so-called colors from the floor to flowers? That's what they say. So do you have any focal points in your decor design? The areas, so to speak, you might be having certain focal points like the entrance, stage, or any other focal point which you want the audience to pay attention to?
Key points that I would suggest and submit that everyone should follow. Number one, do things in a very non-predictable manner. Never do anything that becomes predictable. So this leads us to the statement that I made earlier. जो सब करते हैं वो बिल्कुल मत करिएगा. Number two, never try and implant anything which looks alien to that venue. So I am, let's say, going to a Colosseum. Now a Colosseum for an event, as in terms of architecture and history or its origination, is something which is either very Roman or is very Greek. Don't try and create a Spain or a Mardi Gras inside a Colosseum. On certain key elements, yes, a gate is important, a main stage is important, dining areas are important. So there are all key parts of every event venue. So in terms of design aesthetics, do something which relates there, which belongs there, but yet is something which people have never thought of. And emphasize that either you do things which are plenty, और either you do things that are extremely minimalistic. दो चीज़ें इंपॉर्टेंट हैं जो हम फॉलो करते हैं. आपने अगर मुझे खुले मैदान में छोड़ दिया तो या तो मैं एक सेंटर पीस बनाऊंगा विच इज़ लार्जर देन लाइफ, ताकि आप उस मैदान में कहीं भी खड़े रहो आप बार बार घूम के उसी को देखोगे, या फिर उस मैदान में 1 लाख इतनी छोटी छोटी चीज़ें भर दूंगा सो दैट इन योर लाइन ऑफ साइट आपको सिर्फ वही दिखे और कुछ ना दिखे. सो साइटिंग इट अ प्ले ग्राउंड, 1 million candles will look as beautiful as one central structure which is 150 feet by 200 feet in size.
So like you already have mentioned, the architectural features, decorative lighting, flowers clustered around the front edge of the stage, the bouquets decorated around the chairs and around the tables and other detailing elements. So how do you blend all these aspects of creativity into one?
आप अगर डेजर्ट्स के बीच में कोई इवेंट करने जा रहे हो, सो उधर का फर्नीचर then transcends, or your decision making emanates from the venue. So you will not put a very well upholstered drawing roomish furniture which looks English. You will then try and go the route of the Bedouin tents, the low sitting lounges, the color schematics that come from the Middle East and Morocco, and things that then go. आप टेबल के बजाय परात लगाओगे as a coffee table center. You will probably put up hookahs and you'll take up elements which are more earthen or brassware that go along with that kind of a look and feel, and not unnecessarily bank on glassware that you would have used in a fine dining ballroom setup. So all these things will originate from the master story and then the venue. So yes, they do become important. Flowers, yes. So we'll pick up. मैं जाकर एक डेजर्ट के बीच में शायद रोजेज नहीं लगाऊंगा because they will look totally out of place. I will probably use a combination of cacti and flowers that are grown in that part of the world. So and color schemes. So for me, rust, deep oranges would become the colors, or maybe yellows that I would use inside a desert or in a desert environment, and not a blue which looks totally out of place. So this is how thoughts will emerge, and this is how detailing is done. Go step by step, stage on stage, to kind of make sure कि आपने पहले बड़ी कहानी establish की, then the concentric circles become smaller and smaller and help you to detail, and the detailing will then go to the extent of the food and beverage experience that you're wanting to offer. While in our Indian weddings it's customary to have the basic comfort food which is Indian food, क्योंकि बहुत सारे लोग experiential और experimental नहीं होते हैं खाने को लेकर, but that event in the international cuisine for us would be Arabic, Moroccan, Lebanese, and anything which is a little Mediterranean, because that goes with the food and beverage that comes in that part of the world, plus obviously your comfort food.
So what advice would you like to give to our learners?
Three things. Number one, don't come into the business because you find it glamorous. Come into the business if you believe in the business. Come into the business if you're passionate about creating new things on a day-on-day basis. Come into the business if you can live outside your home for a few weeks if required. Number two, this business is all about giving yourself, and you can only give yourself in if you believe in daydreaming. आप खुली आंखों से सपने देखोगे तब कुछ नया कर पाओगे, तब कुछ बड़ा कर पाओगे और तभी नाम बना पाओगे. There are more than 5,000 event management companies in India today, but there are only a handful that are recognized, and they are recognized only because of the fact that they've believed in certain philosophies, there are certain ideologies that they follow. You will start small, but at least have a vision statement of doing things larger than life, of doing things differently, and getting consumed yourself in totality. तब तो आप इस धंधे में आना, otherwise don't. Your life in this business would be very short.
So learners, that was Samit Garg, the Chief Executive Officer of E-Factor for you, telling you that every challenge could be converted into an opportunity if you are really zestful to enter the event industry today. And there are a lot of promising prospects for you to enter this event industry, which was rightly put by Samit. Samit, thank you so much for enlightening our learners with your valuable insights. We hope to meet you in the future soon. Thank you so much.